Most runners quit Zone 2 training right before the magic happens. Week 7 is when it all clicks, but only if you avoid these key beginner mistakes first. In this episode, I'll be going over the 6 mistakes that stop your aerobic base from growing, backed by science, what to expect week by week during your first 7 weeks of low heart rate training, how to find your real zones and that magical Zone 2, and stick to the process that builds lasting speed for as long as possible, why your Zone 2 pace feels so slow, and why that's the whole point. And a huge bonus, you'll get a free training plan. Because I love giving away free stuff. I'm Darren D. Lake, run coach and distance running nerd of the last 30 years. I used to run 800 meters, that's 2 laps around the track back at college. And all I had was pure speed and no endurance. And that weakness, it bothered me to this day. So then I hit 31 years old and I decided to spend 16 weeks fixing it with nothing but Zone 2. The result, I ran a sub 3-hour marathon and finished an Ironman in 10 hours while being mostly in Zone 2 heart rate. But what if running slow could actually make you faster? Sounds backwards, right? But Zone 2 heart rate training, it's not optional. It's the base that everything else sits on. So if you want to run farther or faster with a low heart rate, Zone 2 becomes that aerobic foundation, the concrete, the pillars, everything. It also becomes your protection against injury and burnout. And most runners either get it wrong or they quit before it starts working, because I almost did too. Now, I reap the benefits and I do a Zone 2 block every year, anywhere from 6, 10, 12 weeks or more, and I use it to reset and rebuild. So what does Zone 2 heart rate training actually look like? Why does it feel so weird at first? All right, Zone 2 is your aerobic base pace, the one where you can talk pretty easy, breathe through your nose mostly, and feel like you can go on forever. I like to think of it as you just jump on a meeting or a call with someone while you're doing Zone 2, and you're able to hold a conversation with them. But so you can speak normal sentences, but they would know that you're running or doing something else to get your breathing up. I'll let your creative imagination think about what those things are. But to get scientific, it's about 70 to 80% of your max heart rate, if you know your max heart rate. And for most people, it's around marathon pace, a little bit slower, depending, maybe a little bit faster. And if you don't know your marathon pace, you can plug a recent race into the VDOT calculator, which I did a whole episode on. Go check that out up here or link below in the show notes or the description. Think of it as your engine building zone, the place where your body learns to burn fat well, save energy, and go long without breaking down. Most of your lifelong endurance, it lives here. It has to. You can't have a building built on air or built on feathers. It has to have hard concrete and steel dug deep into the ground. And once the engine's built, it never leaves you. And there's science to back this up very hard. A 2024 meta-analysis, so a study of many studies, 400 studies were actually studied. They found something pretty cool. The less trained you are when you start Zone 2, the bigger your gains. If you're coming in slow, out of shape, feeling like you have no base, congratulations, you're about to see the biggest improvement. Your mitochondria responds faster. So the mitochondria are the powerhouse of cells, as we learned in biology class. Those are the things that help the cells do what they need to do. And your capillaries grow quicker and your aerobic capacity jumps harder than someone who's already fit. So it's actually harder for me to make my Zone 2 fitter because I've been doing it for 14 years. Whereas you, if you started out, you never done it, you're gonna shoot right up. Being a beginner isn't bad here. It's actually your biggest advantage. Zone 2 rewards consistency over starting speed though. So if Zone 2 is this magical engine builder, why do so many runners mess it up? Enter the 6 common mistakes. Mistake number 1, using watch-based optical heart rate monitors. To get accurate heart rate readings, I highly suggest a wearable and trusted HR monitor, heart rate monitor from a legit company. Chest straps and arm straps are the best ones. Garmin makes them, Wahoo, Kuros, and there's a bunch of others. Polar, your watch's optical sensor is not accurate for running. It's mostly accurate for sitting around, sleep, walking, but don't rely on it when you get up to Zone 2, Zone 3, you start running fast. It is way off. It's worth the money to buy a proper heart rate strap on your arm or chest. And if you take care of it and clean it regularly, it should last you for multiple years, 2, 3, 5 years, depending on how much you use it, how much you sweat in it. And you know what else is an investment? Your running future. Do that by getting my Run Far and Long with Low Heart Rate free training plan that explains all these concepts in this episode and lets you use them out in the real world. Get it at the QR code here, link in description or the show notes below. Let's get on to mistake number 2, using the generic 220 minus age formula for heart rate zones. So this mistake, it's not science, it's a guess, a generic one. And for some, and sometimes I'd say many people, this is as much off as 20 or even 30 BPMs. If you're training by a bad number and using bad data, everything else breaks down. So to find your zone 2, try to do 1 or 2 of the tests that give you an estimate of your heart rate zones. It like programs it for you. I'll go over those tests shortly, so just stay tuned. Do not rely on Strava or Garmin or smartwatches to make generic zones for you because they're generic. They're usually not accurate, and over time, they can either overtrain or undertrain you. Through a lot of testing and a lot of experience, I found out that my maximum heart rate is way higher than most people at my age, and my resting heart rate is actually way higher than it's supposed to be for someone that as fit as I am. Not a humble brag, but I am quite fit, and my resting heart rate is always 10 BPMs higher than a lot of people around me that have similar fitness. Basically, my zones are shifted up about 7 to 10 BPMs again than the average human. And on top of that, I have a really strong zone 2 from doing it for the last 14 years consistently, which makes things even more custom and lopsided and weird. My zone 2 is very wide. It's wider than most people's zone 2. I have a very good zone 2 engine. So I need to train to that custom zone rather than some generic algorithm. Mistake number 3, letting pace dictate your effort. Heart rate is how your body responds to effort. It's the output. It is not the GPS. Conditions change and your heart rate zones don't. On hot, humid, or windy days or after poor sleep, your pace will slow down at the same effort. That's not failure, that's feedback. So don't go around being like, oh, I feel great, I'm just gonna run at zone 3. That is not true. You need to have a very accurate chest strap or armband and take things into account and be like, am I actually in zone 2? Am I lying to myself? Zone 2 effort versus what all the data is saying. Mistake number 4, living in the gray zone and doing too much zone 3 and zone 4 work. So the gray zone, it's not easy, it's not hard. It's very easy to get into though for a lot of new runners, myself included. You can just slide into it. It's just not productive without a proper aerobic base to build on. You're pushing too much to recover and not enough to improve. And it feels like you're training, but in actuality, you're just spinning wheels in the mud, going nowhere and not so fast. I did an episode on the gray zone up there, or go below and check out that in the description links, because it goes deeper on the gray zone. Because the gray zone, it's an interesting one. It's very polarizing and very nuanced. Some people, they also do too much VO2 max work, which is zone 4 for heart rate purposes during base building. This creates fatigue that stops you from piling up enough easy volume. You need recovery capacity to do high volume of zone 2 that actually builds your base. Save the hard stuff before races 10 to 12 weeks out. We're building base so that we can run far with a low heart rate. Mistake number 5, ignoring external factors. So all the stuff outside of your control, literally outside. Heat, caffeine, dehydration, poor sleep, stress. They all spike your heart rate. If you're not adjusting for them, you're not training in zone 2. And or try to not have so much caffeine before runs. Try to not run in hot, humid weather. Try to not be dehydrated. Try to get good sleep. Try to manage your stress so you can actually manage those things so then you can run better in zone 2. Mistake number 6, giving up too soon. Zone 2 feels like failure at first. You'll feel slow, you'll doubt it, you'll want to push. But if you bail and quit early, you'll never experience that shift, and it happens, and it's like a click. It's like, it's on. Oven toaster on, ding, like it did for me. Speaking of someone never experiencing something, do you want to help another self-coach runner do some dope things? All I ask is that you watch this until the end. That's it. Thank you for doing it. If you're going to do it, it tells the algorithm that this content is for other people so they can run with a low heart rate. Feel free to watch it at 2x. And if you want to go a step further because you might be liking this, you could hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and share this episode out to someone that you know, or just comment below why zone 2 training is so hard for you or easy. I'd love to see both sides. All right, so let's get into what you might expect for the first 2 to 3 months of doing low heart rate training. So I'll go week by week, and I seriously wish someone had told me all this, because I read Phil Maffetone's Big Book of Endurance, and he didn't say some of these things. I had to go out and search and validate a lot of these things. But here we go. Week 1, your pace drops like a full minute or 2 per kilometer. So you're going to slow down. It doesn't drop any fast way. You want to cheat and start making up lies that your heart rate monitor is off and blah, 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 blah. No, you need to just slow it down and you're going to feel silly. You also need to do the Maffetone MAF test, which I have a link to below. You can get that, or I'll try to have a link up here. And it's how to do the Maffetone MAF test. Week 2, you're still slow. You're still frustrated. But you're getting slightly used to running slow and being humiliated and passed by, everyone. Week 3, you get bored. You question whether this is even helping because you might even go backward and get slower. Oh yeah, you walk all the hills and you just generally hate running and you feel silly. Week 4, that's when something starts to shift. You're running lighter, a little bit, like 3%, but you feel it. You're holding the same heart rate, but you're going a tiny bit faster. Nothing's crazy, but you start thinking that your GPS or your heart rate monitor is off. And you're like, oh, it's optimistic. It's lying to me in a good way. Weeks 5 and 6, the effort starts to feel smoother, less grind, more glide. And week 7, I call this the golden week. That's when it turns on. Suddenly your aerobic system, it's like online. It's like a booted up operating system ready. But here's what is wild. Biologically, your body started adapting way earlier than those 7 weeks. The research shows mitochondrial changes kick in around weeks 2 to 4, actually. And capillary growth is already happening in those weeks 3 to 4. But you don't feel it yet because those micro adaptations are building in the background like compound interest in financing. By week 7, enough of those small changes have stacked up to where your running economy has caught up and your muscular skeletal system, all in sync, everything's in sync, and those small changes have stacked up, and suddenly your aerobic system feels like it's fully online. Again, operating system ready. You're running the same pace you used to run, but now your heart rate is 3-5 beats lower. That's not magic. That's months of biological remodeling. You're either running at the same pace you used to run with a slightly lower heart rate, 3 to 5 BPMs, or you're running at the same heart rate at a faster pace, 3 to 5 seconds per mile, or, even 2 to 3 seconds per kilometer if you're on the metric system. That's not magic. That's months of biological remodeling finally becoming obvious to you. We're 2 months in. So weeks 8 to 12, if you want to go that long, this is where everything usually gels. And if you've done it right and haven't cheated and haven't lied to yourself and you're wearing accurate technology, it should all pay off. I highly suggest for your first round of doing low heart rate training, you do 12 weeks if you can of just focused 80-90% of your runs, low heart rate, zone 2, zone 1. And after that, each off season, you only really need 6 to 10 weeks to build up your base. And you can still build it as you're doing more interval sessions, VO2 max work, tempo runs and all that. You can still build up your base and maintain it. But this is putting the cart before the horse. How do you actually find your true zone 2 heart rate? First, find your real heart rate zones. You can use the following test. MAF formula plus the MAF test that I talked about earlier. This is Moffatone, Phil Moffatone, Big Book of Endurance. This is his genius stuff. Or you can use lactate testing on treadmill with finger pricks. Hard to do, expensive, kind of logistically annoying, but it's the gold standard. Or you can do a lactate threshold field test out in the field. Garmin, Coros, they all have them. You can just do your own. Just Google it. I actually did an episode on all of that stuff. Check that out up there or below in the show notes or episode description. You can, for testing, you can do a 5K time trial. So you want to go all out and really be gassed out. So it's 3 miles. See where your average is-ish, and you could plug that into a online calculator or map your zones. You could start with the VDOT calculator for pacing and then work out from there. It's just kind of math and using online free calculators. Or you could do the talk test. I like this one for finding your exact zone 2. This will sound more complex than it is, so hang with me. This is where you'll take in one big breath while running or right after, you're running and you stop immediately after, and you count down from 161 slowly and clearly say each number. So here we go. I would be running along, and I go 161, 160, 159, 158, 157, 150. And then if I've been running, I would end at about 155, 154. And where you stop, where you're out of breath, you're like, oh, I'm done. I can't do that anymore. And you're still running. You want to then move some numbers. So I have 155. I would remove the middle first 5, throw that away. So I have 1 and then move that 5 over. I have 1, 5, and then add a 0. You could do this for 154. That becomes 140. 157. That becomes 170. So you get it. This is an average range, but I like to do it for zone 2 work. It seems to be the most accurate. Super easy to do it. You could do it 2 or 3 times. I like to check it against a heart rate monitor because sometimes heart rate monitors, they're actually off too. Even the high-end ones, they can get bad data interference, etc. But this is just seeing how much oxygen you can take in with a big deep breath. And if you're aerobically, because aerobic is oxygen, this does somewhat prove and validate the kind of one-to-one analogous. I have this much oxygen, I can speak, blah, blah, blah. That means I'm in the zone. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be as accurate as it can be, and do it the most amount of times that you can. Cross-reference it against other tests, and you'll get a general idea of where your zone 2 is, why zone 2 is so important. So patience is everything here with zone 2. To run farther or faster, you don't just need lungs and a heart, your cardiovascular system. You actually need a full body system that can handle the load. So this goes back to earlier when I was saying this is actually an injury prevention method and a burnout method by running in zone 2. Your tendons, ligaments, and capillaries, they don't adapt overnight or even after a few weeks. It takes months of running easy and letting that bamboo grow. The bamboo takes years for the roots and then it shoots up. So the roots, they kind of make the foundation, then it shoots up. You're like, nothing's happening, shoots up. You can fake fitness with a few hard sessions, but durability that can withstand injury and burnout, that's built slowly. Zone 2 protects your body while upgrading your capacity. It's the base layer for every breakthrough you're chasing, whether it's a faster 5K or marathon best time, or just the ability to run consistently without falling apart and feel better each day. Zone 2 is amazing. So all the HIIT workouts and VO2 max stuff, that comes easy. The gains come easy from that, but they also disappear as quickly. Zone 2 is where the real endurance lives. It actually, you might not be able to do anything for a couple weeks. In zone 2, it will still be there, that base. And if you want to go deeper on patience, there's a whole section, many chapters in my upcoming book, The 1% Better Runner. More on that soon. If you haven't already, go and get my free Run Farther and Faster with a Low Heart Rate training plan. You'll get signed up automatically for my weekly 5 minutes or less newsletter that drops in your inbox consistently like a 1% Better Runner would. The newsletter is dope because it goes deep on things that I don't have a chance to go deep on here on YouTube and the podcast. So I go deep on threshold training, specific workouts, what I'm listening to, watching, reading, and I have some fun in there because running, it should be fun. Get at the QR code here, link below or in the show notes. But hold up, low heart rate training is dope and all. But what about the recipe for base training, the key to actually running far and long without getting tired? Low heart rate training is part of base training. Go check that out because I did a deep dive on that here or below in show notes and you can figure all that out. Peace.